We are streaming live. There is over 28,000 people online right now watching this. Oh, come on, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Can we have a little bit of energy in the room? You've survived the whole day. You're here. You and 28,000 of your famous Welsh friends wanting to join this quite important session, in all seriousness. So my name is Aled Miles, and amongst a couple of things I do, one of the things I do is I have the privilege of being the Welsh Government envoy to the United States. So when we talk about whether Wales is a hub for business, does it attract business, that's a topic that is incredibly close to my heart. Now, the good news is that in a second, I'm going to shut up and ask questions as opposed to speak. And we've got a phenomenal panel, some of whom I was at school with, some of whom I share Los Angeles with, some of whom I've met before, and some of whom I haven't. So what I'm going to do, instead of me introducing them, I'm going to ask them to do so. And in a second, you'll see their names, and some of them are online in various parts of the world. So why don't we start local here, and then we'll go online. I'm delighted, first of all, Kellie Beirne, who is the Chief Executive of Cardiff Capital Region. Tell us just a little bit about you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kellie Beirne from Cardiff Capital Region. Really privileged to represent Cardiff Capital Region, which I think is the most spectacular region in the whole of the world, not just Wales or the UK. I would say that, wouldn't I? I am from here. I feel really passionate about what we're doing. So we represent a population of about 1.5 million, 10 local authorities in South East Wales. We work with both UK government and Welsh government. One of the things that we do is to deploy a £1.3 billion city deal, a government growth deal. We're also our own corporate entity, so as well as trying to make a significant contribution to the Welsh economy, we're also responsible for things like regional land use planning and transport planning. So lots of interesting things going on. We have impact funds. We intervene in relation to our economic sectors and clusters, but we're also really passionate about innovation in public services, because these are the kinds of things that will really drive productivity and good growth in Wales as a country.
Love it. There's Welsh passion straight off the bat. You know, the thing about this conference that struck me today is the amount of support and help businesses can get that possibly they didn't know about. Walter May, Chief Executive of GlobalWelsh, founder as well of GlobalWelsh. Tell us a little bit about you and the organization.
Yeah, so I founded GlobalWelsh officially about 7 years ago. My background is in engineering. I was one of the Welsh diaspora for about 20 years. Returned 10, 12 years ago. So we all know that Wales is a great place to live. Very few people leave because they don't like the place, but a lot of our very high talented people leave because their ambitions are not going to be served by staying. Now that's disappointing, but what you have to realize is, you know, they are ambitious and they're going to go off and they're going to do their own thing. And so how do we not resent the fact they've left? How do we actually tap into their success and their heartfelt passion for this country? So we have 3 million people in Wales, and we have at least 3 million in our diaspora. So, and you'll meet a couple of them later on, part of this event. So it's all about tapping into their skills, their knowledge, their expertise, and in some cases, the high net worth, their money, and also their ability and willingness to help Wales become more prosperous. So, you know, there's a lot of talent in Wales. There's a lot of help that's required to get those talented people to realize their potential. And the way we do that is to connect them to the diaspora and have them to be inspired and helped and guided and invested in by the people that are no longer here. We'd like to encourage some to come back, and some will, but research that we base GlobalWelsh on suggests that not many will. But we don't need them to return to actually take advantage of their expertise and their knowledge and money.
Brilliant. Thank you, Walter. You do a great job for Wales, there's no doubt. Ammar, Akhtar, you chose Wales to start your business, right?
Yes.
And I had the pleasure of meeting you in San Francisco earlier this year. Tell us a little bit more about you.
So I'm from Pakistan. I started FinalRentals in Dubai. And then from Dubai, we moved to Poland, and then from Poland to Wales. And Wales is the home of FinalRentals. And we help local car hire companies become digital. So companies who have no idea what is this beast called e-commerce, because they're working on a till and doing the job. So we give them this solution, this magical thing that is called FinalRentals, and they start getting bookings online almost instantly, turnkey. So coming from outside, of Wales, I think Wales is something that is incredibly special to me as a founder, right? And it should always, and it should be highlighted enough for also other founders who are not in Wales, because there's incredible, support and help, in Wales that one can unlock as a founder, especially in the tech and the fintech sector, right? And my mission, and I'm committed to create more digital, let's say, tech jobs in Cardiff, and because there's a huge potential here, a great young talent that I was able to meet and very fortunate to work with so far. So I think it's a great place to be, and of course, we can always talk more about that as this discussion goes. Yeah, so
great. Thank you. Brilliant. Good start. Now, by the magic of television, I have a feeling that if we watch the screen in a second, we will be able to see our friends that are online. Well, there's one of them. Let's start with Jan Griffiths. This, by the way, is the young lady who I was at school with. Jan, it's lovely to see you again.
Great to be here, Aled.
And you, if I'm not mistaken, are still in Detroit.
I am indeed. I am right in the epicenter of all the UAW activity, and there's a lot going on here in Detroit.
So Jan founded a company called Gravitas Detroit. And first of all, I'll plug it for you. She runs the most brilliant podcast. And Jan has a history in the automotive sector. She is very knowledgeable about supply chain and about the automotive industry. And as many of you know, I live in the United States, and all I got to do these days is turn on the TV, and I see my old schoolmate, Jan. So, Jan, I'm very proud of all you've achieved. Tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you, Aled. Yeah, so I'm Jan Griffiths, and I'm originally from Coity, a small village just outside of Bridgend. Many, many years ago, I came over to the US as part of the automotive industry and worked for many automotive companies. Some you'll recognize, Bosch, GKN. And then I left my automotive career, culminating in Chief Procurement Officer for an interiors company. And then I started my own business focusing on changing the culture of the automotive industry. But that wasn't enough for me. I wanted to give back to Wales. And quite frankly, I couldn't find a vehicle to help me do that. And then I met Walter. And I joined the GlobalWelsh organization just over a year ago. Earlier this year, I am proud to announce that we launched our USA hub for the GlobalWelsh so that we can connect the diaspora to do two things: to help bring investment to Wales, but also to help Welsh businesses find connections in the US to export. And I could not be happier about that part of my role.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jan, very much indeed. Who should we go to next? Can we pinpoint Gareth?
Yes. Yeah.
Gareth, how are you?
Aled.
Tell us about, this is Gareth Hughes. He's a bio-entrepreneur and a startup advisor. Gareth, tell us, first of all, where are you? I didn't ask earlier on.
Yes. I'm in Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, the country of Texas.
The country of Texas. Yeah, some people want it to be its own country. Yes, still do.
Gareth, tell us about you.
So I grew up in the valleys, Rumney Valley. Lived in Abertussoch for a few years with my grandparents, and moved to Rumney, and then Fleur-de-Lis. And then my dad got transferred to West Virginia for coal mining. And so that brought us to the U.S. and been here ever since. I've lived in various parts of the U.S., Ohio, Minnesota, and about 20 years ago, moved to Texas to run the life sciences efforts of a nanotechnology company here in Dallas. And from there, I've been involved with about 5 of my own different startups, and now I have my own business called Casio that helps medtech and biotech startups at the early stages, raise money and form collaborations with universities and try to get their products through clinical trials and eventually to the patient. So I joined GlobalWelsh with Jan, about a year or so ago. We were part of the hub team there, trying to grow the base and knowledge of Wales. One of the challenges here is a lot of people don't even know what Wales is. So it's part of our efforts is educating people in this country that it's not England. But we're growing that base and helping companies over in the US, here in the US and in Wales to bridge that gap. And so we're very excited to be here, and hopefully I can answer some questions on how to get into the US market. It's mostly what I do, and particularly in the life sciences. It's a very different space. I know we may talk about that later as far as the government role, and the government here it's a very different than in the UK. So
Brilliant. Thank you, Gareth. Perfect. Now, last but by absolutely no means least, I think this gentleman is one of the most successful Welsh entrepreneurs turned scale company chief executive to full enterprise. He's both a chairman, an executive chairman, and a CEO. He has had an extraordinarily successful career. He's apparently not a bad golfer. And I have the pleasure of calling him a friend. We both live in Los Angeles. I know you're not there at the moment, Lyndon, but this is Lyndon Faulkner, who is just a tremendous Welshman. It's great to see you again, Lyndon.
Yeah, Ali, good to be here.
Tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, okay, just quickly, grew up in Newport, a hoity-toity area of High Cross. Went to school at Basilic College, and a little interesting twist on our discussion today, we had a small Welsh company called Nimbus back in the mid-90s that launched the compact disc and DVD to the world out of Monmouth. And I actually took that business to America, and we launched it on the NASDAQ stock market. And with that, I moved to the States, so been there some 30 years. But interestingly, through all my tech career, I've always had the ability to have connections and business entities in Wales and in the UK. So for 30 years, I've kept that connection with Wales, even though we started off here. And it's been very exciting relationship to have all the companies that I've been involved with in the States have interests back in Wales. All my family still live there, so it allows me to get back. And I think Wales is a great place for people to do business.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lyndon. So it's quite a big panel. So I'm going to ask each of the panelists to be pithy. I hope that got across Zoom. P-I-T-H-Y, okay, pithy. And just to keep us to time, you'll find me getting restless. That means I'm wanting you to wrap up, all right? Because we've got a lot to talk about. So the question is Wales a great place to do business? We Welsh like to think so. We say it, we talk about it, but in truth, is it really the case? Kellie, why is Wales, or even just Cardiff, a great place to do business?
Well, I'll talk about Cardiff Capital Region. I don't have this lovely Welsh transatlantic drawl. You'll have to settle for Newport, I'm afraid. Broad Newport accent. I'm going to try and cultivate that, I think. But yeah, for me, there's several reasons. So the first reason is, we always say, don't we, Wales is a small, smart country, as if that's reason alone. But I think what we do have, because of our size, it gives us this agility, this ability to adapt. And I think we have scale and critical mass, which is sufficient for big impact. So when I look at different countries across the world, similar population size, Estonia, the Basque region, what they've become is testbed regions. And I think Wales has that. We have this pioneering ability to test things out, quicker time to market, good proximity to government, shorter supply chains. So testbed status is definitely something Wales has going for it. I think, secondly, we've got we specify, I guess. I know diversification is important, but when we talk about our economic sectors and our strengths, we stick to them. We're not all things to all people in Wales. We don't use the term world leading lightly, which I think is really, really important if you're going to stand for something. So we've got the third fastest growing creative industry sector, a genuinely world leading advanced compound semiconductor sector, which is growing all of the time. It's got global reach. It gives us that geopolitical dimension to what we're trying to do here in Wales. We've got amazing strengths in relation to cyber. We've got the fantastic FinTech Wales. You know, I defy you to find another country that's doing as much to raise its profile in relation to FinTech as we are here in Wales. And then on things like medical devices and diagnostics, you know, responsible for the majority of the new jobs that we're creating here in Wales. So we're doing amazing things with our clusters. We're sticking to the plan. And what's even more brilliant is these sectors and clusters are starting to work together, and we're starting to see some amazing innovation. I think just very quickly, because you are getting restless, the ecosystem is here. You know, it's about risk capital. It's about an interventionist state. It's about our clusters. It's about the way we fund things, about the self-starting ambitions I think we have here as a country. And this bit about government and the entrepreneurial state is really important. Hopefully I'll get to talk about that in a few minutes' time. But more than that, there's a buzz. There's something palpable and tangible in the air. We're on the up. And I don't just need to look at the evidence base and things like the UK Competitiveness Index telling us we're growing. We're a self-starting nation. And I think if you look around, you can see real signs that something different is happening here. And I really feel we can all get behind that. Look at the amazing ambassadors and advocates we have here tonight.
So, Gareth, do you think that's true? All the way from Dallas?
No, I think it is. I think having the smaller kind of quicker to make decisions at the government level is a huge benefit for Wales. I think here in the US, the bureaucracy is enormous, even because you have state level, you have local, state, regional, and then national. You have to go through for any industry. I'm in the life sciences space, and I think what I see a lot coming out of like the universities, the innovation coming out of Cardiff and Swansea universities, and particularly in the medical space, is world class.
But Gareth, do companies in the US see what Kellie's? I mean, I agree with what Kellie said, but do they see it? I mean, you know it because you're Welsh, right?
My company has worked with several startups, and they've licensed technology from Swansea University. I have others that have done clinical trials over there, not just Wales, but in UK in general. But yeah, companies that know of, particularly in the life sciences space. So there's a lot of interest of doing work over there. It's a bridge towards the rest of Europe, So.
Let me bring in Lyndon. I'm sort of being deliberately somewhat skeptical and provocative, right? Because I'm not sure that Wales tells the story in a big enough way. In all your years in the US, do you think that companies think Wales?
No, I don't think the exposure is there for Wales. So I agree with everything the other panelists said. I think we have agility, we have amazing workforce. Every time I've had manufacturing facilities, the productivity out of those facilities has been excellent out of Wales. But I found myself perpetually promoting Wales to people that don't know it.
Yeah.
And don't know its benefits, don't know its opportunities. And I think we could do well by teaming up with what Walter's doing. The government obviously is keen to engage on initiatives and bring private enterprise into that. We could, I think, for sure, be doing more to promote Wales.
I mean, I find myself saying that Welcome to Wrexham has done more in 18 episodes than Wales has done in 80 years. Yeah. And it's a little cruel, but at least today when I say I'm Welsh, people don't say, what part of Welsh are you from? Which is an instant way of me knowing that you have no idea what you're talking about. But they go, oh, Wales, have you seen Welcome to Wrexham? I'm like, have I seen it? I've seen it about 50 times. Walter, from a global Welsh perspective, you talk to the diaspora globally. What's your view of this?
I think the big point, is we don't sell Wales effectively. I don't think anybody is really representing what the opportunities in Wales and what Wales is about. We know, living in Wales, what we have to offer, but unless you tell those stories effectively, and I've worked with public and private sector, and I don't think we've really nailed the story. And whether you take it as a general Wales as a whole, whether you take particular sectors, I've listened to many public sector pitches about Wales, and none of them have impressed me. They've not been anywhere near where they need to be in order to actually engage people and convince people that this is a place they should be taking advantage of. The reality is we have 3 million advocates for Wales out there in the wider world. That's the way to get the story out there, is to have them advocate for us. But in order to do that, we've got to make sure that they understand what the story is. So these are people that may have left Wales 10, 20, 30 years ago, like yourself and Lyndon. You know, we need those people to understand what's happening in Wales right now. And when they get a chance to talk to anybody about Wales, these are the things we'd like them to say. And we need to update that story on a regular basis. So it's really about advocates, and we have 3 million of them. We don't know all of them, we don't know where they all are, but we know they're out there. Yeah. And that's our objective, really, is to find as many as we can, make sure that they understand the modern Wales, and that they're there to advocate for Wales. But we need to tell them the story, and I think there's some work that the private sector and public sector could do together to get that story honed to perfection, really.
You got the story.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you made a choice. So why did you choose Wales, and how did you know?
So I was applying, for this innovator visa program by GEP in UK Embassy in Warsaw. And they said, there's a place called Wales, and that's the upcoming startup ecosystem. And as an entrepreneur, I've always believed in, new ecosystems.
Sorry, who told you about Wales? You say University of Warsaw?
The UK Embassy, Warsaw. The Embassy of UK in Warsaw.
The ambassador
yes.
for UK in Warsaw told you.
Yes.
Is he Welsh?
No.
Gareth, we need to go get him. Give him a Welsh passport. Okay, so that's literally how you heard about Wales.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the first time. And then I came to the FinTech Wales program. I was one of the second cohort, right?
Did you meet with the government?
Yes, I met Sarah Williams.
Who? Sarah?
Right, the first one.
Oh, she's phenomenal. You got lucky.
And the moment I landed in Cardiff, right, it was my first time in Cardiff, ever, first time, Cardiff Central. I'm a vibe person. The moment I landed, I said, this is my home.
Really?
Without knowing anything, I'll be honest with you. I said, this place is my home. That was the feeling. This is the place. This is my Silicon Valley, for example. Right?
All right, so that's great. But then you're starting a business here. Did you get support? Did you get assistance? First question. Second question, why is it good to be here?
So we always talk about ease of doing business, right? You ask any government, what are you doing? We are having ease of doing business. That means nothing if the government is not founder-friendly. Okay? Business is separate. It's a founder that runs the business. It's us who think about these things, because we are crazy, right? We are founders. And I met, so the first day, you are meeting people from Dev Bank of Wales. You are meeting people from Angel Invest Wales, and you are trying to understand how it works. So as a founder, what we need? We need funding, we need people, we need the ecosystem, right? Okay. These three things, they should work together with us, dance with us, and we can create a symphony, right? And I was able to have access to all these things. And one thing that Kellie just mentioned, the proximity to the government. Right?
Proximity to the government?
Yeah, as a founder. I think in Wales, the government is a call away from me. As a founder, I can literally call the government and say, I have this problem, can you help me? And they will reply. Many founders in Wales, they have this preconceived notion that, oh, the government, what will they do for me? You have to call them. You have to ask for help. Only then you will know if they can help or not. I was able to get all the answers whenever I wanted, right? I was able to understand how it worked with the funding, what they need from me. I was able to get all the answers. So for me, I've worked in Poland, UAE, in Dubai, in Italy, everywhere. I can tell and I can bet on that. Wales is the most founder-friendly nation in the world.
See, it's great to hear. It worries all of us that more people don't know it, which I think is going to become a bit of a theme of today. Jan, wanting to bring you in. So, look, Wales has an automotive history, right? Of course, we tout Aston Martin at every possible turn that we can, but we have a tremendous manufacturing history, as we all know. What do you think it's going to take to get your Detroit-based hard-nosed American manufacturers to set up in Wales?
Yeah, great question, Aled. Let me give you just a moment of history, if I may. I've been in the auto industry for 36 years, most of that in purchasing and supply chain roles. So I've had the ability to influence sourcing decisions. I've been in the room where decisions were made as to where to put manufacturing sites outside of the US. I am Welsh, and not once did I ever think of Wales as a potential to either source business to or to put a manufacturing plant in. Why not? People in the US, particularly in automotive, are not aware. They just do not know anything about Wales. And we have to elevate the profile of Wales, as you've said it many times, Aled, onto the global stage. And listening to Kellie, everything that she just talked about are the major tenets of an innovation culture. You talk about agile, you talk about shorter supply chains, you talk about funding, about government support, all of these things we need for an innovation culture. It's all there. So how do we promote all the benefits of Wales into the US? One of the things that we're certainly doing as a Global Welsh organization, and we're also aligning with other organizations. We're aligned with the Welsh Automotive Forum. But we need to do more of it, Aled, and we need to do it faster.
Yeah. And I don't want to, have our time here preach just about the United States, right? I mean, it's a great and a huge market. But I was very interested in what Minister Gethin said today, and actually what the First Minister said last night. Excuse me, I'll get some water in a second, about being specific and targeted, because we can't be all things to all people. You asked a question when we were warming up. Do me a favor, it's a government question. You ask it, I'll get some water.
Yeah, so I guess the point was, the statecraft, how can the machinery of government help support this? And Ammar, you've given a great example. Things like FinTech Foundry have been things that we've conceived at a regional level with FinTech Wales. But I think, as Jan was saying, to go back to the point about automotives, do we need big automotive factories in Wales, or should we have the world's first foundry for next generation semiconductors that make the components that will drive the electric revolution? If so, yes, we have it. We have these things already. So it's thinking about the feeders, the different supply chains, I suppose the value chain that we can connect with in a different way that could lead to some of those outcomes that Jan is talking about. But yeah, I just want to say something about government, because I think it gets a bad rap sometimes, and I think we're trying to do things very, very differently here in Wales. So in the Cardiff capital region, it can be frustrating sometimes that people think, government, they're just here to de-risk, they're passive enablers, they can troubleshoot when something goes wrong. No, no, no. Government is here to take risk for reward with responsibility, because we deal with public money. We're here to convene around big industrial and societal issues. We're here to create and stimulate new markets, because we have things like public procurement. Our public balance sheet can really help drive productivity. So I think what you get in Wales is you get a different mindset. You get an entrepreneurial government that will partner with you, that understands risk and reward, and I think will be there for you through some of the challenging times, because we can take some of those challenges, I think, turn them into opportunities that can be monetized and sold around the world. So yeah, I just want to give a plug for government, because I think that's something that we're doing very, very differently here in Wales and hopefully in the Cardiff capital region.
Walter, the government asked you for a bit of help.
Yeah, and I was pleasantly surprised. I was quite skeptical about doing work for government because I thought the administrative overhead would be, too high. So applied for Welsh Government. When we did a 2-year program with them, they were very supportive. They didn't burden us with reporting. They give us a far more autonomy than I expected. And so it worked really well. And they're very demanding on outputs. So it wasn't, take the money and it's easy money and we can do what we like. Far from it. It was, very, very demanding on results. So yeah, it was a good experience. I've done some work with Cardiff Capital Region and the same thing. So I think the Welsh Government is agile. It can be easy to partner with. I'd like to see them follow through on some of these things, though. So we started a number of things, but we didn't follow through on them to scale them. So, you know, I'm all for piloting things to prove that it works, but when we prove it works, we then need to scale it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it stops at that pilot stage. I'd like to see them more committed to the long term.
Lyndon, if you can't answer this question, feel free to tell me you can't answer this question, which is, at the height of your business career, what was the largest annual revenue that you were achieving?
Well, multi-billions of dollars.
Yeah. So just to be clear, Lyndon's world, you know, from an annual perspective is a B, not an M, right? I mean, Lyndon's business was extremely successful. So as the chief executive of that business, right, you have a rhythm. You can sense the rhythm of a business. What advice from the perspective of rhythm would you give the Welsh government as to what it needs to do to attract greater inward investment?
So I think having made lots of inward investment in Wales, it was all thankfully very successful. So I don't think everybody can just have their hand out with the government. You know, there's enough people with their hand out for the government already. So I think the government has a part to play for sure. What I would like to see, and as a person making investments into Wales, when you get the sense that other companies are doing it, other companies are being successful at it, it de-risks your decision to do the same thing. And I would like to see initiatives where we take successes and you promote those successes. Ireland did very well at this, and they promoted their success. Lots of companies went to Dublin during the day. And I think Wales can do something very, very similar. I think we can take great success stories within tech, within inward investment, with the role the government plays, the role private investment makes, and spread the word a bit more on successes in Wales and creating jobs that are not just minimum wage jobs, they're qualified jobs, they're exciting jobs, they're with excited brands. And I think we just, for me, I just don't feel we promote ourselves enough, and we have stuff to promote.
The rhythm of momentum, right? Lyndon, getting that momentum, that wheel flowing.
Success breeds success. If we get out there, share successes that we've got, particularly with American mentality. American mentality, they like success. Nothing's too big for them. No matter what part of the 50 states you're in, Americans will actually follow up intent with investment. I think we've got to take that message to them that these are successes here, and if you do similar with your businesses, you will be successful, not just in Wales, because Wales is going to be, you know, it's a small country with a small population, but as a land base for the rest of the UK and indeed into Europe. And I think that's something, I think that's something that we don't do that we should be doing a lot more of, especially knowing the cultural difference. You know, they speak the same language, but the culture, Alid, as you know, Gareth, Jan, you know, you've all lived in the States. It's a very different culture, and it's a successful culture. It's not rude to be very successful there. It's heralded. People applaud it. We've got to get that message across to those people that Wales is a good place and a low risk to be successful.
So I'm going to warn, thank you, Lyndon. I'm going to warn the panel, right? I want a one-sentence answer, okay? And then I'm going to go to the audience to see if there are questions, okay? So What do they say? If you want a good answer, ask a good question, right? Change. You want to see one thing change, and that change will help inward investment. That change will create something different. I think, Lyndon, we've got your answer. I think, Lyndon, you're off the hook because I gave you a hard question, right? Jan, what one thing do you want to see change?
We've mentioned it here a couple of times, and that is mindset. I want to see Welsh businesses be bold.
Nice.
And connect with us. Please.
Mindset. Love it.
Mindset.
Nice. Good answer. Let's go, Walter.
I think I probably indicated earlier, I think I'd like to see public sector and the private sector get together and build a proper story around Wales and make sure we tell that story effectively all over the world, not just in the US.
Great. Thank you, Walter. Gareth.
Walter took my answer. I was saying awareness also, but getting that message out to everyone and understanding what Wales can offer is important.
Great. Anwar?
We need more global champions from Wales, right? And for that, we need a scale-up strategy from the government. If we have it, we can create many unicorn businesses here. There's a huge potential.
Okay, nice. Kellie?
I want to change the question because I think if you ask,
not
your question.
What a relief.
If you change you ask why Wales, and you immediately default to a reason why you can't do it. If you ask why not Wales, that leaves you open, I think, to a different explorative conversation. There's laden with opportunities. So I think we should change the question. It's not why Wales, it's why not Wales.
I had the great pleasure last year of going to Dubai with the Welsh government for the big World Trade Conference. And Gareth will tell you, Gareth's there sitting in the audience from Welsh Gov. We thought hard about what are the things about Wales that are unique, that are selling strategies, and what is the ideal customer profile that we should be matching those selling strategies to. And it was the first time that I had witnessed Wales come together with a 4-point play. Diagnosis, what do we got? What do we want? Who do we want to go to? A strategy to go get them. And I think for me, the change is I think that the alignment between the many Welsh bodies that if they came together would be incredibly powerful, from GlobalWelsh to Technology Connected to Wales.com, to the government, to the envoys, that a regular, powerful group meeting and focused on a campaign message that is bold with a good mindset, that thinks we don't have to worry about tall poppy syndrome, right? We can be big, we can be bold. And I will remember, and I'll end on this and come to the audience, is I remember Gareth saying to you in Dubai, there was media built for the Dubai World Trade event that was so modern and so on point, but we don't distribute it. We don't share it. And we can't rely on Ryan Reynolds for the rest of our lives. Questions from the audience? Neil, you look like you're about to ask a question. Are you?
He is now.
This is the moment where there's a chat. Gary, thank you. Thank you for being first. I was about to say we sit here with a toe-curling moment, just waiting.
Thank you. In 1998, I took a floppy disk plan from here to Ukraine. So that's my connection with Lyndon. At the same time there was the WDA. It's never been replaced. Nothing against the Welsh government here. I know they do a great service. But we need something like the WDA. And why can't we have that back? Thank you.
I'm not sure that I can answer that, but Kellie, I'm glad you put your hand up. So I think the question was, why can't we have a WDA? And we might even have Sarah help us.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to look back. Cardiff Capital Region, I think, is doing some very similar things, but in a different way to the Welsh Development Agency. We are our own corporate entity. We've got strong brand in marketing. The point that I was trying to make about interventionist government was we were given a £500 million fund by UK government and our local authorities. We had a choice. We could either spend that fund down or we could try and live off the interest. That fund is repaying. We've got a second chance to deploy that again, to leverage against it, to put it down as a down payment, if you like, on future investment. So I think the mindset is there, but perhaps we're looking at things in a slightly different way because times have changed and you have to move and understand the need to adapt the outlook. But I think the ingredients that you're talking about, there's something similar, albeit I would really like to pitch for a national innovation agency. We see Techies in Finland, Vinnova in Sweden, you've got Innobask in the Basque country. I think Wales has the same ingredients and we should try and emulate some of those successes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just being provocative because that's my job. But didn't you just say you wanted something like the WDA
I think
with the national tech agency that you just asked for?
But it's more of an innovation agency. So
Right.
when you look at levels of productivity in Wales, you can directly correlate them to levels of investment in research and development. So I think there's something specific that we could do at country level around an innovation agency, which I think could be uniquely powerful. Slightly different, I think, to that vehicle.
See, I agree. When I talked about pulling people together, I think that agency approach makes sense. Sarah, did you want to say something? There's a microphone coming your way. This is Sarah, who runs FinTech Wales.
Yeah, thanks very much, Aled. I'm absolutely with you, Kellie. We changed the question. We stop being pathologically modest about what we have here. And you've heard me say it time and time again. We're just louder and prouder about what we've got. We know that story. We've got those stories. It was an absolute pleasure to uncover some of the amazing stuff that's in Bridgend to Aled earlier on today, and you knew nothing about it. So already connected, already working with them. We've got to make those connections. That collaboration is absolutely essential. And we have got the ingredients. We have got the groups that are doing that. You know, this event is an example of how people have come together. So stop being pathologically modest.
It's a lovely way of putting it, Sarah. Sarah, by the way, just for you to know, came up to me earlier, and I've known Sarah for a while, and introduced me to a company in Bridgend, which is where I'm from. Lyndon, you're going to love this, called Fortium, right? And they have a product, correct me if I'm wrong, because I've only literally just learned about this, called Media Seal, right? S-E-A-L. And Disney are using it. Universal Studios are using it. Sir Lucian, who's a Brit who lives in LA, who's the head of Universal Music. And these multinational major companies are forcing their supply chain to seal their IP using a platform made by a company in Bridgend. Walter, Lyndon, they now need funding to expand the industry that they're in from just the world of entertainment, which is somewhat inclusive, to a much broader data layer protection for broader IP. And what struck me about this today is, how do I find out about companies like that? And by the way, I'm touching the surface of what they're doing. And they're in Bridgend. And our ability as diaspora in the United States to either help fund them and to help expand them. And I think, Lyndon, to your point, let's find, I've always wanted in my role as the Welsh Gov envoy to find a company that we can make a success of collectively, and then, as Lyndon said quite rightly, show that success to the rest of the world. And I tell you, a country that does this really well is Australia, which is one of the reasons we wanted the High Commissioner here today to tell us a little bit about what he does. Brilliant. Did anyone from the Welsh Government want to comment on the WDA, or have we done you justice? Gentleman there with his hand up, I think, was ready for another question just before we go there. Are we good? We're good. All right. Gentleman there that kindly raised his hand. Here comes the mic.
My colleague next to me just said you were brave when I stuck my hand up. I actually work for the Welsh Government in the FDI space. But actually my comment is slightly separate, just picking up something that Lyndon said, and maybe somewhere that Wales could position themselves. So we all know how good a job Ireland does in the FDI space, and the IDA are probably the best in the world. But we're in a position in Ireland at the moment where 3 of the biggest companies are in the process of relocating to the New York Stock Exchange for one reason, and that's because the public don't like remuneration packages that the CEOs are taking. They'll give you all kinds of other reasons that they're going, but that's the reason that they're going. And it's because the Irish, I suppose, that they're nearly afraid of success. We love to see, the Irish people love to see these American tech companies come in and bring everything with them, but homegrown success doesn't go down well. We're afraid to shout from the rooftops how well we're doing and embrace that. I just think that that's maybe somewhere where Wales could position themselves, to Lyndon's point earlier.
Great, thank you. Did you say you did some work for the Welsh Government?
I'm based in Ireland, but I look after the FDI from Ireland into Wales.
Great, wonderful, thank you. I always say that the Welsh are the Irish that couldn't swim. We love the Irish, as you know. Thank you for your point. Does anybody want to make a comment?
I went to Silicon Valley a few years ago with the Irish Technology Leadership Group, which was the San Francisco-based diaspora, and that was amazing, supporting programs for Welsh businesses through things like the Kaufman Institute. So it was a real revelatory experience and moment for me personally. But I know, Walter, you're keyed into that now, aren't you? That the whole diaspora and linking. I mean, Ireland is such a great example, isn't it? And I know we've got some key connections there. Again, I think the question is, how do we keep leveraging and learning from these?
Anything you want to add?
Well, we're just going to keep on building the network we've got, keep connecting them back to Wales and to each other. But I think one of the things we ought to think about, and I know the Welsh Government has thought about it, but haven't taken the action on it, is to have a homecoming. We really should be bringing these people to Wales. We can start small, or we can be really ambitious and do what the Irish have done and the Scots have done. But, we know we have a very elite group of our diaspora out in the wider world. It'd be great to get them to come to Wales, spend a couple of days here, really immerse them in what Wales is doing right now and how they can help. And I was talking to the leader of the New Zealand diaspora last week, and they reckon they can do an event for about 400 people for a budget of about £160,000. It seems to me to be money well spent if we could do something similar. 400 of our top diaspora in Wales, 2 days, and then we can immerse them in what we're doing and ask for them to help, and I think they will. But we've got to do something like that, I think, to really ramp it up. I mean, we're going to continue and we'll grow, but that would be a big thing for us.
Sorry to do this, Avril, but I mean, we just add 2 days to this conference, right? Which adds, another 25% to your life, or takes another 25% away, whichever way you want to look at it. But we're here. I'm kind of serious. I like the idea. I'm very conscious of time. Is there one last question from the audience? There's one. Sorry, I was just about to move on. Nearly didn't see you, sir.
Sorry, good afternoon. My name is Michael Groves. I'm from Welsh Government, WDA alumni. The professionalism and expertise of the time didn't disappear. The badge over the door may have changed, but a lot of us were there then and
so I'm so
here
sorry.
now.
For some reason, it's not you, it's the acoustics. It's very, very hard to hear you.
Sorry.
Sorry, it's not you, it's the acoustics.
Okay. I had a question for the entrepreneurs on the board, really, as much as anything else, as it relates to the IP and spin-out that comes from our academic areas in Wales. I was fortunate enough to take a delegation over to MIT a couple of years ago, and what struck me was the entrepreneurial mindset that comes out of that academic institution, which seems to be lost, not just in Wales, but in the UK. Our academic institutions seem to want to cling to the IP of what could be very viable commercial product. Is there something more that our entrepreneurial colleagues could be doing to convince our academic institutions to be more commercial in the way that they approach landscape?
I don't know if anybody on the panel has a view. Kellie?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not an entrepreneur, but I think my view is we need more translational research, more applied research. If you look at other countries in the world, European university models, they operate very differently. And I think some incentives, because it's very easy if you're a big company, if you're a prime, you can afford to work with a university. But Wales is a country of SMEs. So we've got to think about how we incentivize that engagement. And I've got loads of ideas on that front, which I'd happily discuss with you.
Okay. Cool. Closing comments. Pithy. Anwar.
If you're a founder, you're watching this anywhere in the world, come to Wales.
I mean, maybe we should shut it down right now. I mean, I think I should have gone. I think I should have gone. Well done, that man. All right, panel. This has got to get better and better and better, right? Kellie.
Wales, why not?
Ooh. Gareth.
Oh, I don't know. Wales, we have dragons.
I like it. Walter? People have heard me say this before, but I think it's still relevant. Stop thinking of Wales as 3 million people in the borders of Wales, but think of Wales as 6 million with a borderless nation of 6 million, because that's what we really are.
That's nice. Like that. Lyndon?
If you can't beat them, join them. Aled, if I haven't got anything better to say, I just love the discussion and agree. Symbol for Wales.
That's nice.
And Newport, hey!
Newport, yes.
Hey, up the county.
Jan, last but by no means least.
Let's bring that passionate, fiery, feisty spirit of the dragon to the global stage.
Love it. Great ending. Everyone, please thank our panelists. Quite wonderful. Thank you all very much indeed for your participation online. I know it's much, much harder on Zoom. You don't get a sense of the audience. So we're very grateful to Gareth, Lyndon, and Jan for being online. Moi, Walter, and Kellie, thank you for being here. And I think that wraps up the first day. We made it through. Well done, Avril. And everyone, thank you for staying till now and for your joyful participation. That was a great session. Have a super evening. Go Wales.